Morning everybody. So, not sure what video this will be, probably 116 or somewhere around about there. Yeah. Maybe I should give you Iron Horse a new lesson on bodywork. Oh, that was hilarious last night. I sort of started watching that and was like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, like, you know, after a few seconds it sort of dawned that they were doing the piss tape, but shit, it was funny. So I think, Jason, you need some more lessons. You didn't quite grasp what I was trying to do. You start with you beat the bent straight for a start off beat. You don't use a bent one, and where there's a big hole, you normally put metal back and not cardboard, and don't use duct tape. And then try and use fresh body filler, not stuff that's 20 years old. But anyway, funny. So, I've done most of the body work on this. I don't think I really need to do any more on it. Like the hammer and bolting, it's about as good as it's going to be. So, I'm just going to give this we've already etched this quite a few, probably a couple of weeks ago now, I think, or thereabouts. So I'm going to give this a quick scratch up with some, I think it's 40 or whatever it is, 40 or 60. That's some stuff I've already used, so it's not real sharp. Knock that down. As you sand it, give it this quick scuff back. You see anything that really looks like it might be sticking up, worse than anything else, because that come up quite shiny quite easy, even with just rubbing a bit of paper over there lightly. So maybe knock it down while you get the chance. Might just put a bit of tape on that edge just to keep the body filler off there in the meantime. Right, so we'll mix up some filler, we'll spread that. I don't need it down here because this is where it bolts back onto the chassis, and obviously all the inner sheet metal is near there as well. So yeah, I don't really need it down here, so I'll just blend it into this a little bit. So when we sand it out, we'll just sand the edge off. Mix some filler up and then we'll throw her on there. Righty. So, mix your body filler on a mixer, not on the panel. Jason? Oh, she's thick again. Our temperature's come down a bit since yesterday afternoon. She thickened up. Yeah. A bit more than that, I reckon. So, now we'll spread it on the panel, Jason. try anyway. Standard spatula. Or whatever you want to freaking call it. Right, we'll let it go off. I might go back and play up the springs for a bit. Right, so now hopefully it's almost gone off enough. It's kind of sticky on that side, but it should be right. What I might do is hit it with the DA with the actually wants to stick an old one on there to start off. Just to help. Just in case the surface is a bit gummy. Mask. Wear a mask. This shit's not good for you long. Alrighty, so I DA'd this back. It's not far away. There's probably a few areas that need a little bit extra. Whether we pick them up with high build or a bit more body filler or not, I'm not 100% sure. But I've mudded sort of this section of the fender, sort of pretty much almost all the way across. I'm trying to concentrate on this side first, so what I'll do is I'll sand it out, but I won't, sand right over, if you know what I mean. And try and get reasonable, and then we'll do another skim, and we'll try and go down the other side and try and blend it in a bit. That's a shit of a shape to try and put body filler on. I even used the what do you want to call it? The profile gauge, and made a rough sort of template to try and sort of smear a bit of mud on there, and then come back along and sort of scrape, the worst of it off, if you know what I mean. So hopefully we don't end up with it too thick, and we sort of rough it in, and then maybe do another smear a bit like that, and try and blend it in a bit nicer, if you know what I mean. Because it is pretty rough through there. Like, it's in reasonable shape, but it's pretty rough. Just because it's so badly beaten up. But yeah, it's not looking too bad. But yeah, it's just, we'll do this sort of side of it, and then we'll come back along and we'll do another initial in the side of it. I need to probably double check the edge before I do fill this bit. Just make sure that I'm happy with the guard line. Looks like it might need another couple tidy up in some places, but that's easy enough to do with hammer and dolly. But yeah, sort of mud the rest of it, if you know what I mean, and then come back and then do what needs more. Whether I put another skim across all of this or not, I'm not 100% sure. I think a lot of it will just get with high build and a bit of glazing putty, you know, without trying to go too crazy, because it's actually come up reasonable. Probably a few spots I was light and body fuller, you know, lots of here and a little bit through here and here. No, I could probably even maybe just skim the front of it, you know what I mean? Sort of where the worst parts are. Not too worried about in here. I can put another smear in there too if I really need to, and then just sand it out. That's a shit of a spot to get something to sand into there nicely. But yeah, we'll carry on. I'm going to go have some lunch and come back and do some more. I've been puddling around with bits and pieces over there. I've pulled a few of the what do you call it? The grease nipples out of some of those pins and just got them soaking in a small tub of that stuff there, which I need to obviously get some more product to put in there to have a decent wash out. But I just got some of these soaking here with the pins out of them, with the grease nipples out of them, sorry, so I can get in and soaking through the you know, the lines for the grease and try and get some of that shit out of there and give them a good clean up. But yeah, we need something, a fresh batch of stuff in here so we can wash a lot of these parts out properly. This is, I don't know, that's real, it's a funny product. It's not a, I don't know, it's got very thick, slimy almost, like it is cleaning stuff, but it's, you know, like, I don't know, like whether, even petrol would be better in some ways, or fuel, you know, gasoline, whatever, be better at cleaning stuff up, I think, or leave less crap on them anyway. But anyway, it seems to break them to shit, but it's just to try and give them a good wash out, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we'll carry on. Alrighty, so this is cured. I've had some lunch, it's pretty good. Bacon and eggs. So I'll grab the DA and we'll knock the rest of this off, and then I'll carry on mudding, I think. Give it a quick scuff over the DA and just knock the rest of it off, and then yeah, we'll mud the rest. See if we can maybe get this smoothed out a bit anyway. I think it'll be fun. Just playing. Right. That'll do. Better plug my phone back in. Holy moly, these things are the worst things I've ever had to sand. I've never really done a lot of sanding on fenders like this, or mud guards, or what do you want to call them. Absolute bitch, because the thing wants to keep moving. I even cleared some of the stuff where I was painting earlier on, try and sit on there, get a bigger surface to sit on, and it still wants to move around. I'm bloody near tempted to clear that shit off that other workbench over there and actually screw it down at the back, so it sits up and half lock it down somehow. I don't know, just to stop the freaking thing from moving around. Just so I can block sand the bloody thing. I've had to get this out because I couldn't get it to sand flat because it's such a big curve. That way and that way. This here is not so bad because it's a little bit more, even though it's still very curved, you got a lot more area to work with. Like you're not trying to work within this sort of space. You're not trying to work within sort of, what's that, about 8 inches. You got quite a big surface to sort of sand across, so you can get a lot more sort of backwards and forwards and side to side, where this here is not quite so easy. So I've resorted to this and like trying to pull it around as much as I can. See if I can get you in a position where I can sort of show you a little bit. This is where these sort of come into their own, if you know what I mean. Sure, I'll break you down here a bit. So I'm sort of just pulling it flat and just, that's the biggest problem. I can't hold this fucking panel still. I need somebody else here to help hold the bloody thing. So that's sort of what I'm doing there at the time, and it is flattening out now. I was having a lot of problems where the body filler was a bit thick in places, it was creating humps and hollows, and I was struggling to get rid of it, so that's why I sort of cracked this out, stuck a bit of paper on it and trying to get something that would follow the curve, and I think this is 25 inches long, so I've almost got 25 inches of sandpaper touching this thing at once, so I should be able to get a fairly consistent, and then I can come back to maybe something that's a little bit shorter, so I can sand a smaller area, if you know what I mean, but keep it flat. So yeah, but I'm having a dabble with time trying to hold the blade in still, so I can, actually work the thing. So yeah. I'm just trying to decide what I want to do here. I could actually screw that plywood over there, which I might do. Might sit it up on here and just bang a couple of screws in it. This is still going to move around, but it's not going to be quite as bad. That's why I sort of thought about going back around to that other bench and sanding it around there, but I was trying to keep the mess fairly local, and just set, I know there's a lot of dust probably over there, but the thick of it's here, if you know what I mean. I was just trying to get to a point where it was a bit easier, but yeah, it's an absolute pain to just sand it, because it's just, everything's moving around. It's the joys of panels like this. You just, big bonnets or hoods or trunk lids or stuff like that aren't quite so bad, because they're normally fairly flat and you can get into live flat, whereas this is sort of perched in all sorts of queer angles because of just the general shape of it. And the stand sort of wants to rock around a bit. But yeah, hopefully maybe on those two might be quite so bad. Bang a couple of screws in the back, and see if I can get the bloody thing to stay there. It's just frustrating the piss out of me, to be honest. I'll find a couple of screws and see if we can screw it down like that. Righty, so this fender is kicking my ass. I'm getting there, but it's, man, there's a lot to be said for if you can like really freaking dial it, a panel back in, you know, with hammers and dollies and planishing hammers and all that sort of stuff, you know, because it makes it a damn sight easier doing this work, you know, the sanding work. Like it really probably needs, well, it probably needs a bit more filler in here, but it probably needs a bit of that sanded off too. I've got a lot of sanding to do, like as you can see, like I haven't got this right yet or anything. I'm just trying to dial this line in. The same on this side, trying to get this line to come in. I obviously need a bit more body filler in here because I've run away from the line. But it was, the scab was so sort of beaten up, and I straightened it out a lot more than what it was. But it's not feeling too bad. But yeah, look, it really needs another skim and a lot more just blocking along this line to get things to come right. So I'm just attacking it with 80 grit at the moment, just trying to get it dialed in, if you know what I mean. Probably more material needs to come out of here. But I've basically had enough for the day. Yeah, these are going to take some work. All these 4 fenders are going to take, or mud guards are going to take some work. Hopefully the back ones aren't quite as bad as the front ones, but they're not going to be a lot different, if you know what I mean, because the difficult part is about the same sort of size, you know, like this piece. Like this piece is easy, you know, trying to get this right, or fairly close to right, is pretty easy. It's trying to get all these different shapes, and it's going from one curve to another curve and then flattening out, and yeah, just trying to get that all blended back in takes some work. So yeah, the closer you can get with hammer and dialing and all that sort of thing in metal work, yeah, you're probably going to spend just as much time trying to put body filler on it and sanding it out as what you are trying to do the other way, if you know what I mean. So it's 1.5 dozen the other, I suppose, but yeah, it takes some work to get this crap right. You know, the more tools you got, and obviously, you know, if you could make up a die in something, you know, even in a planishing hammer that had this sort of shape in it, you could come along and planish this in and get it really nice and straight, you know, work it in. But you know, it's not always that easy either, you know, and it all comes down to your skill level and how much of this sort of work you've done. Like this is really the first probably set of fenders or mud guards like this that I've ever done. You know, I've helped a little bit a few years ago, but you know, when Dad put that black and green rugby back on the road, but I didn't do a lot of this sort of work, you know. A lot of it came down to the guy that did the finishing work back in the day, and I don't know what they were like underneath. I can't remember. That's too long ago, but she's going to take some getting in yet, but we'll get there. You know, hopefully next time, you know, we won't have to put so much filler on to, you know, to bring it back. And obviously, you know, because you can see where all the highs and the lows are, where it's been beaten to death, you know, but we'll get there. And the awkward thing is too, is to try and hold this frickin' thing steady so you can get a decent sand on it. But I think I'm going to have to clear this, what do you call it, the table over there, and screw it down and set myself up something underneath here so I can just hold the front of it so I can actually really get in and sand it. But yeah, I was trying to not spread my mess, but even on there, it's all, because everything's moving, whereas that's nice and solid, that table's not going to move anywhere, so that'll help a lot. But anyway, I've had enough for today. We'll come back here tomorrow, we'll do a bit more sanding, get it down a bit further, you know, in the places it needs to be, like in these, get this back a wee bit further, try and get the lines closest, and then we'll put another skim on where it needs it, you know, which is probably the majority of it, but just try and get it a bit closer as we're skimming it in, and yeah, and then hopefully get it blocked out another time, and hopefully we've got it close enough that we might better get it with high build. But you know, I think this is going to take a little bit of work. I might have to make up even a better shape forming tool or something like that, and try and, yeah, when we put the filler on, try and scrape it out a bit more evenly, if you know what I mean. But yeah. Alrighty, we'll catch you later on. Cheers. Right, before I decided to leave, I've brought it over here, cleared the bench. I've actually put a TIG screw in here and 2 screws at the back, and it's actually really quite rigid now, so I should be able to actually sand it fairly decently. And I just straightened a couple of little pieces on this edge, or I wasn't 100% happy with just how it lined up, but I think that'll be pretty good now by the time I finish doing the mud work, I guess. At least now I should actually better have a decent go at the thing. I'm pretty happy with this side of it. It's going to be a bit awkward trying to finish this side, but at least if I can get this side good, I might better turn it around and do the same to here, or I can just have to reach over the bench a little bit. But at least I can actually turn it around, and I can screw it on the other way, back on the bench if I need to, hanging out the other side, if you know what I mean, and get it a bit more bent. Like I can sand from here, not too bad, but just to try and look down that edge would be nice if it was around the other way. But we'll get that side good, and then we can come back and clean this bit up. I don't think the side's as bad, possibly, this one half dozen the other, I suppose, but I know this is pretty reasonable. This was pretty easy to get right. It's all these shapes. At least I can have a decent go in the front here now and get these lines in here better, and so that's cool. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Right, so morning guys. So I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to get yesterday's footage and today's footage in one video. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet. But last night I screwed this down with my head because it was really awkward working on those panel stands. Because of the crazy shape of this thing, it was just very awkward to sand it. Now, with it sitting fairly still, like it's still going to move around, but with it sitting fairly still, hopefully I should better get a better job on it. So with using this Perspex block, which I made up, which is my version of a Lucky block, hopefully Lucky block, Matt, Arco was telling me that must have been in a bad car accident there a couple of days ago, and he's waiting to hear back, or trying to hear from somebody whether he's okay or not. Apparently he was in hospital. But anyway, these work great because, as I said yesterday, you can hold that around and you can block a curve and pull it around that curve. Now it doesn't probably matter if the last 4 or 5% is not touching on the ends, it gives you something to hold, but basically that whole piece from about there to there is touching that panel, and it's helping that smooth, super smooth radius, because this isn't dead flat yet. It's not bad, but it's a little bumpy because it was very awkward to get the sand flat yesterday. And just because of the nature of the curves in it, I was having a quicker job, and because the panel was moving around so much, it made it even worse. Like a flat block like this, like the Dura block, there's just not enough given it. Like you're only touching, probably that much if you're lucky, trying to sand. So you're fighting against the unevenness of the body fluid when you put it on. So this is the first time I've used something like this, and I can see the total benefit of why Arco uses them, because you've all of a sudden gone from touching a small area to touching a large area. Even though it's probably not touching a lot side to side, you're still getting that patch, even if it's that wide, a long strip. And then when you're going across, when you're sanding backwards and forwards, or whatever direction you can do, you're still touching that whole thing as much as possible, and you're bringing the highs down. And obviously, you know, you can't get much further with steel, but at least you're getting it down to some sort of smoothness and flatness on this panel. So I'm going to give this a bit more of a rub back where I think it needs it, and then I'm going to apply a second coat of body filler and try and get it on there thin. I'm not going to do this panel yet. We'll go back onto this. This is not bad. There's a few areas that need a little bit of a touch up. You know, probably maybe mud the front part of this. But the rest of it's pretty good. You might be there that odd spot. You know, it needs a little bit in here type thing, but the rest of it's pretty reasonable, and it's blocked out pretty good. But I will readdress this. But what I'll do is I'll unscrew the panel and I'll turn it around to do it. Just so, like I could do it leaning over the table, but it'd just be easier if it was round on the open side, so I'm not having to lean over so much. But I'll block this back where it needs a bit more shaping in and a bit more smoothing out, and try and get rid of a bit more of the excess that's not needed, and then I can see where it needs more body filler and where it needs obviously more sanding, and then, you know, another light skim over top. Then hopefully again with this block, another shorter one, so we can the next time we come back, you know, hopefully we'll have a little bit less metal showing, and we've got it smooth. You know, and it needs a lot more work back here. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see? I think I had that in shot, do I? Yeah. It needs a lot more work back here. I'll bring the camera around. Try and show you a little bit. If you can see, like I need to do a lot more work here because it's not really sanded back very well, but it might need a little bit more body filler because it's just one of those. This here was sort of replaced from about here. Here's back. This was all replaced. So it probably isn't quite the right shape in it. So I need to do a bit more blocking here, and I need to sand a little bit more out in these edges where the different shapes meet. But yeah, so I'll get rid of a bit more crap off it, and then do hopefully a really light skim across the whole thing again, and see if we can get it a bit more thinned out and spread out nicely. So hopefully we don't have to block that, well, not so much of a bitch to block that, but now I think now it's actually on there and it's fairly sturdy, we should have an easier run at it. But this panels, they're quite beaten up. I think this one was actually quite bent up, and they've had a pretty good go at straightening. I straightened it some more, but it's just one of those things that was fairly hammered around. So inevitably it's going to have a lot of body fill in it. But again, I don't think it's actually probably terribly thick in places, but it just needs a lot of body fill because it's not very even and consistent. The basic shape's there and it's reasonable, but it's just very lumpy, bumpy. You know, so it's going to take a bit of filler to get the worst of it smoothed out, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I could probably sand a bit more off through the centre, but there's, up here there's a lot of places where it's down pretty hard, but here it's not too bad. But, you know, you've got to get it feeling smooth, so it mightn't be worth me taking more off, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, we'll have a bit more to go around these edges and try and get a bit more of this knocked out, and then we'll give it another skim coat. I'll get to it. Righty, so you just see me from when I first started speaking and then started sanding, and then I basically filmed that all in one hit. It was an hour and 10 minutes I just spent from when I first started talking to finished spreading the body filler. So I think it was about 30 minutes of me when I started talking and then sanding them back, and from when I started mixing body filler it was about 40 minutes to mix and spread that. You wouldn't believe it, would you? You wouldn't think it would take 40 minutes to mix body filler and spread it, but it's amazing what it takes when you're trying to get it on there as cleanly and as nicely as possible. Okay, it's not perfect, but you know, hold on, I'll turn the camera around. It's such a prick of a shape to spread body filler on. I try to get it on there as neatly as possible. Obviously there's the odd high spot where I just didn't get back to even spread it out even further. This is like still pretty, this side of it's probably it's starting to harden up, but the other side obviously where I put that last little batch on, because I didn't want to try to mix too much and then end up with, because it was taking me so long to put it on, I was just doing it in smaller batches. And so basically I spread this first and sort of stopped down here somewhere, and then I mixed enough to sort of spread the front of it and come round, and I sort of got the chunk of the back of it, and then I had to do another lot to come up over here. Obviously you'll see it on the footage anyway, but yeah, it's taken me 40 minutes to mix and apply. So it's amazing, you know, like you get a panel like this that takes you 40 minutes to put it on. And like the stupid thing is, like, I haven't even done that piece because I don't really need to, but I just sort of just done this front part. Right, you need a little bit more, and I just spread in there because there was some scratches in there where it was awkward to put on, and I just did a couple of little spots that I can just rub off. But you know, like a panel like that takes 40 minutes to mix and apply body filler, whereas these panels here, which are fairly flat, even that one, you know, take, you know, probably 10-15 minutes to spread and apply body filler. You know, it's probably not quite the same volume that you're putting on, but it's a similar sort of size panel, and shit, you know, like it takes so much longer with complicated, awkward shapes. So yeah, you know, it's amazing. You know, that's a whole hour's time just basically to apply. You know, a little bit of light sanding to finish some stuff off from the day before. You know, it's a whole hour's work to do that, you know, basically. And if you take the 10 minutes off me from waffling for a start off, and then just sanding and then mixing and applying body filler, you know, shit, by the time you do that a few times to get things right, you know, it's amazing where the time disappears. You just don't realise until you actually, sometimes you actually film it and you think, shit, and you look back at the footage and shit, and when you stop filming, it's like an hour and 10 minutes of me talking about for a start, and then get in there and then sanding and then applying some body filler. You know, shit, it's a crazy amount of time it takes to do it. People just don't realise what it takes to do body work, and especially on something like this that's got a lot of shape in it. It's not just a fairly big, flat, clean panel like the backs of that, or even the back of that body, like that back tub. It didn't take me anywhere near the time it took to put that on. You know, and that was probably the whole back tub, you know. It might have been 20 or 30 minutes mixing it up and spreading it on because it's such a large amount. But, you know, for 3 small amounts to try and get that on there, just because of the time, and, you know, you've got to, I was trying to get it up to this line and then gently scrape it back, and going so ahead trying to get that edge, that line crisper the next time I block it out, you know what I mean, and trying to get an even full up to that edge, and then I spread it out with my finger along that edge too to try and push a little bit into it, so when I block it back, hopefully we get a better result, you know. But anyway, we'll let that go off and then we'll block it off. So, I'm not sure if this will be part of a new video or not, because I've got a crap load of footage from the last 2 days, but a lot of it's working footage, so it'll be shrunk up, so I'm not sure. So this will either be the start of 117, or it'll be just the ending of 116. So if it is the start of 117, get yourself some of these blocks, acrylic blocks, perspex blocks, whatever you want to call them. I got the idea from Arco. I'd never seen them before, and the blocks that Arco bought were the lucky blocks. So, not that I'm trying to say that these are lucky blocks, because I'd done a short just before lunch, and said, you know, these are amazing. These are really the best seeming blocks you can ever buy or make, and they are freaking absolutely awesome. I can't believe how flat this has come up. You know, for curved surface that's curved this way, it's got all these ridges in it. Or, you know, it's a big long panel, like with a normal block you can't sand, you know, that like, whereas this you can pull it around. I want some thinner ones so I can flex the other way a bit easier, especially for down in here. I want to get some thinner acrylic. It's about half this thickness or thereabouts. Yeah, the guy that said on the little short, he came up with this comment, you know, don't associate your blocks with lucky blocks. I wasn't trying to associate my blocks with lucky blocks, it's just that's the only ones I knew of that were like that, Arco had used them. He'd bought Lucky Matt's blocks. I know the guy's in hospital. He's been in a vehicle accident and he's got serious head injuries. I don't know exactly how he's going at the moment. I have no clue. Arco was trying to find out because we were talking about it earlier on yesterday, and this morning, I think I talked to Arco briefly this morning. But he's Arco's so busy, that's why he hasn't done a video in ages, trying to sort out his workshop and bits and pieces. But the only reason why I'm associating wide blocks with Lucky blocks, because it's the only other blocks that I know of that are like this. I know now that there's other acrylic blocks that are like Lucky Matt's blocks. If I could afford to buy Lucky Matt's blocks, I probably would, to help support the guy, especially now. But with being in New Zealand, and my dollar being really crap compared against the American, I know for the good set that Arco bought with all the different blocks in it, I'm sure that he said the first lot that he got without the stuff, ones that Lucky Matt sent him, or whatever his proper name is, were the ones that he sent him that were personalised for Arco. I'm pretty sure Arco said they were like $200 or something American for the blocks. So if you convert that into New Zealand money plus freight, yeah, it's going to be in excess of $400. I can't afford that. I had perspex here, or acrylic here, so I made some, and I just referenced them to Lucky Matt's blocks because that's what I've copied, you know. I'm just trying to, if you can afford to go buy his blocks, go buy his blocks. So don't poo-hoo me for, referring to his blocks, because that's what I knew and that's where they come from. And Arco said, either make yourself some or get yourself some. I can't afford to buy myself some, so I made some. That's all there is to it. I'm just, I'm not in America. I'm not fortunate enough to have buckets of cash at the moment. I'm about to go afford to buy some of the more expensive gear and help support the guy. So I had acrylic here, so I made some. Bit of duct tape in the back and away you go. Like if you want to make some, make some. If you can afford to go support the guy, go support the guy. I'm not. It is what it is. But yeah, definitely. Like if you're doing body work like this, even if you're only going to do a couple of cars, and you want to do some decent body work, make some, buy some, whatever. Like these are the best sanding blocks I've ever used. Like I've pretty much forever and a day, all I've ever used up until recently has been this style of thing, which is really good. I've made huge long wooden sanding blocks for doing huge, big, long flat panels on big, long, flat cars, lots of, like Plymouth Furies and that sort of thing. Anything that's got a big, huge, big, long car, and the panels are really, really flat. Like they might be curved that way, but they're just big, long, and flat. You can run a block down it forever. I did in Australia. I made a block that would be double that. Mightn't be quite that long, but it would be at least, it'd be close to 40 or 50 inches long. And that was just because I knew that the car wasn't really straight. I'd straightened out a lot from what it was. It had been pretty beaten up, and I just used that big long block to try and help get the body puller on it flattened out as the best I could before I went to other different styles of blocks. If I'd known about those then, I would have made some. I think I possibly did, but because I wasn't doing a lot of body work at that point, and it wasn't sort of something that I'd really picked up on that Arco used a lot. But I've learnt that since with knowing Arco from Outlaw Ridge, or Minnesota Outlaw Kustoms, and apparently he's a really good mate of Matt's too, so that's why I made some, because Arco said, make some or buy some, because you'll thank me afterwards. And yeah, I am, because I can see This is the first panel I've really used them on because it's been such a shiver panel to sand. Just using a flat block doesn't work, you know. I've got these other types of blocks over here too. Like I've got these. Like I've got this here too, you know, and I've got Dura blocks. I wouldn't mind a longer Dura block too because they are a good blocks for the initial block back, or even this because it's a bit wider, you know, using the just sheet paper. If you've just got sheet paper, these are quite good, but the longer you block, the better. And because those acrylic blocks are flexible, you've got a curved panel. Like this. You know, whatever body block can you do that with? You know? And that's why I want a slightly thinner one, about half this thickness, or no, if 2/3 of this thickness, you can basically get it, and you know, you're sanding that whole panel. You're sanding wherever that thing's touching. You know, you're not getting the full width of the benefit of the width of it because it's curved that way and that way. But you know, you're getting the whole. You're touching the whole block, and you're sanding it flat with the whole block. You know, and because you're going like that, it's knocking every piece off that. And by the time you're finished and gone through your high builds and everything like that, and gone through different grades of paper, this is going to be so freaking flat. It's going to be stupid. And I can see why Arco uses them, because I can just see from the results of just sanding body filler, trying to get this down to a decent shape and decent level. They're just awesome. And even like trying to bring these lines back in from the from where it's, you know, it's been well body worked, and try to get it as close as I can, because these panels were rough. You know, they're 100 years old. If it had been beaten, bent, twisted, crashed, these have been straightened out. This fender here, mud guard, or whatever you want to call it, which is on the side of the car, was hit. And apparently it was crushed away, and the chassis was bent on that thing. So this has had a big straighten out. I've straightened it out again since. You know, I hammered, I'm pretty sure this one was the back one that I did a lot of heat and shrinking work on this. This didn't really need it, but I've hammered and dollied the crap out of it to try and get it a lot nicer than what it was, and straighten it out and welded up cracks and bits and pieces. But this here, for trying to get those lines back in, because it's so long and so flat, or even the skinnier one, which is probably a little bit easier to work with, this skinnier one, there you go, you can run that line so easy, you know, you can just run it backwards and forwards and dial that line, and you know, and then you can even come in, you know, you can wiggle it backwards and forwards, you can roll over those edges, you can have that flat on the edge, and then come up and over and curve it, and you're going to get that really smooth, super smooth transition. So yeah, I can't recommend these anymore. They're just absolutely freaking awesome. But anyway, I'm going to tap the bottom of this a bit more of a DA, try and get this a bit more high material taken off it down here, because it's a bit of a bitch. That's why I like a thinner block, because I like to be able to flex it in here a wee bit easier. I can, but it's not that easy, whereas I think a slightly thinner one would actually get a whole bit shaped a bit easier. This is probably the worst piece, because it's not that way, which is easier to sand. You're trying to sand like that, so, but I actually probably need to put some bit of paper in here, but yeah. When I hit this the DA, just try and get a little bit more material off, and then hopefully block this out a bit more. so I mixed up a little bit more filler. I would have liked a little bit more just to spread a bit further, but probably lucky I didn't because it was just starting to go off as I was getting the last of it on. So I've done sort of the areas where I sort of think needed more, just to try and fill some of the holes in here and obviously give this a bit more to blend in. I would have liked to have done all the way around in here, you know, and spread a little bit over there just to try and get these lines just a little bit nicer, but I can probably come along with a little bit of glazing putty or something like that. I've actually got a little black frickin' spreader. It's like a real nice little soft one. Do you think I can find the frickin' thing at the moment? I used it the other week in the back of the tub to put that glazing putty in. Do you think I can find it now? I've hunted for it everywhere. But anyway, I'm in two minds whether to leave, hang around for a while and sand it off because it is 3:30 on Saturday, or whether I just bugger off and just come back in the morning and knock it off and then put a little bit more on and maybe jump to the next one and start mudding that in. You know, obviously just knocking any last little bits out and straighten the edge up, and then again smash it with some body filler. And shit, I'm getting through that can too. It's amazing freaking when you're skimming a whole panel, how much you use. But it's definitely, I think it's the easiest way to get a panel flat, for sure. It just takes a lot of filler. Unfortunately, filler over here is not horrendously expensive. I'm not sure what he's paying for that. But I know the guys we got the paper through, they had the Rage Gold for about $60 or $70 a can, which isn't too bad. I don't know what he was paying for that through one of the local paint companies, but I don't know. I haven't seen the bill for it, so I can't tell you. But yeah, I'm half tempted to just call it a day and come back in the morning and, you know, and work till lunchtime or something like that and get another few hours in and get this knocked off. Maybe smell a little bit more in there, as Dan from DD Speed Shop says. Just smell it on. But yeah, and then you tack the next front one, and then I'll jump onto the back ones. And again, like when we getting closer to putting highball, and we can go over and put a little bit of glazing putty or something like that in, or I can even before that, you know, because it probably needs a little bit out here. Probably need to leave it more of a sand too, but again, not where it doesn't need a lot. So I could probably just put a little bit of that glazing putty in there. I was actually trying to find that little black spreader so I could put it on because it's really nice and flexible and soft. So it's quite good for getting around these sort of tighter curves, whereas these ones here that aren't really flexible enough. They are flexible, but they're not easy to flex, if you know what I mean. You've got to put a bit of pressure on them. So I really wanted it for back here to try and sort of get this a bit spread a bit nicer and around here, but should be right. We'll knock the worst of the high stuff off and sand her out. It's a bit thick. Anyway, so yeah. But anyway, anyway, if you're going to make some of those acrylic blocks, yeah, I highly recommend it. To be honest, yeah. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm just blown away by how, once I've sort of got a handle on the getting the rough shape in, and then using those, especially those two big long ones, the skinnier one and then the wider one, just getting this shape nice and smooth, both directions. Yeah. I don't think you could have done it with anything else. But you like even a long Dura block or something like that. Maybe if you had one of those thin, longer Dura blocks, it was a bit more flexible, you'd probably been alright. But those acrylic blocks, yeah, are just the duck's nuts for doing stuff like this that's got huge curves in it. You like flat stuff, or mildly flat stuff, like the backs of that body and stuff like that. You're going to get that with a hard sort of non-flexible block pretty well. Like that, I used that wooden one with a wooden handle on it to do the bulk of that back of that body. But when we come back along and start smashing some high build on that, or I might even hit that body with that before we do put some high build on it. Just give it a good sort of 5 or 10 minute rub back and just try and flatten that off a bit more with that wide block, off that wide acrylic block. It was super easy to make, really, especially if you get a bandsaw or something like that, or even a table saw, or even a skill saw, to be honest. Just mark out what you want for width and length and cut it off. As I said, duct tape for the back for the handle, and go for gold, eh? Sticky back paper and world's your oyster, pretty much. Yeah, I'm blown away by them. Like, this is the first time I've really used them, and it's just what I thought was going to be an absolute mission. It was a lot of sanding, but for the result, just you can't fault them. I would like a thinner one, and it's half as thick, or a third, maybe 2/3 of that sort of, or half as thick as a couple of mil. If I'm going to hunt, I'm going to ring a couple of places Monday and see if I can get some, a small off cut or something like that of some thin stuff, a couple of mil thick, or I don't know. It needs to be steel raw. Just trying to think, what the conversion is in inches. Where are we? Got my ruler here. Put you back on the tripod. Hold on. So, small ones. So these blocks here are, what are they? Quarter? No. Somewhere between an eighth and a quarter. Quarter. Yeah, they're about 3/16 of an inch thick. I'd like one. I'd like to get some material that's probably somewhere between an eighth and a 16th thick, somewhere around about there, which in millimetres. If you use guys at 9 millimetres as well. So this is about 4.5, 5 mils thick. So if I can get something a couple of mils thick, it'd be bloody perfect. So I just want that slightly more flexible block to come in and try and get those, even if it's not long, if you know what I mean. Even if I can pick up a piece like a hunk or off cut or a bit of scrap that's 12 inches long or a little bit longer, and just make some slightly shorter ones, but nice and thin, and some nice little narrow ones that are really flexible for doing in these sorts of places will be perfect. So I'll keep you posted with that. Anyway, we'll catch you later on. Cheers.